Being raised by a narcissist mother means you were affected by the behaviour of your mother from the moment you were born, because a narcissist mother cannot experience real love. There was no real bonding for starters. In this video, I'm going to share with you the cost of being raised by a narcissist mother and give you a wonderful tool to start healing in a powerful way. I'm Carol Rathel, and this channel is about healing with self-love, because self-love is the most important thing to do, especially if you were raised by a narcissist mother. So what happens in the early years and how does it affect you? Firstly, there is a lack of real love. If you have a father who was able to give you love, then the effects are lessened, but there is still a very gaping mother wound. You were never able to feel safe because of the unpredictability of your mother's behaviour. How can you feel safe when you don't know what mood she's in, how she's going to react, and she might react one day this way and another day that way? You also weren't taught healthy conflict resolution because narcissists don't respect others and they do the blame game. They project blame onto the person they're in a dispute with. In fact, you were damaged, probably, by the blame game. There are numerous other ways you were affected, but for this video, I'm going to focus on the lack of love and the lack of safety. We can explore the other aspects in another video because they really do deserve a deep dive of their own. I'm also going to choose my words very carefully for this video because there are some that we cannot use. Okay then. Going back to your birth, you were given to your mother to hold. This is the time that bonding starts, as you were held against your mother's chest and feel her heartbeat. A healthy mother would bathe you in waves of welcoming and love. This creates the beautiful bond of love and safety. With a narcissist mother, there are no waves of love and welcome. There might be some satisfaction for other reasons, according to what's going on for your mother, like hooking the father even more now that you exist, but no love. They cannot give love to others because they cannot love themselves. They enjoy the love that others give to them and they thrive on that, but they cannot reciprocate in a real way. So right from that very early moment, there was a big wound, a gaping hole that should have been a sanctuary of love and safety in your mother's arms. As you grew in your early years, you might have experienced all sorts of unloving behaviours. One of the most striking themes of my own childhood, being raised by a narcissist mother, is that I never felt loved. I felt like I was a nuisance in her life. And as long as I behaved exactly as she demanded and basically kept out of her way, I was safe. I know I'm not the only one with that experience. So let's list some of the ways a narcissist mother raises her young ones in comparison to a normal mother, and be aware there are worse narcissistic behaviours out there than what I'm going to mention. However, it is my belief that what I will share with you are common to pretty much all of us who were raised by a narcissist mother, and the tool I'm going to give you applies to anyone who was affected by a narcissist mother. Lack of unconditional love. Narcissists tend to reward behaviour that fits in with their belief of what is right or wrong. Therefore, the child must do as demanded, according to what the mother thinks is right, because she cannot see a situation from a different point of view. She can only see what she believes in. And if the child doesn't do as demanded, they will feel the lack of approval in a very powerful way. If they try to give their side of the story or explain the reason for what they did, they will get shut down. I was told, "Don't answer back." If I showed anger about the unfairness of the punishment, I was told, "Don't look at me in that tone of voice." Anyone relate to this? Or experience the same shutting down, but perhaps in a different way? If a young one does something wrong, They are either given physical punishment, psychological isolation, or even physical isolation, or something worse. I was hammered with, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself." Not with what you did, but yourself. The lack of ability to show how they feel on their face or in their body language teaches the young one it is unsafe to show their feelings. They are either punished for showing anger with their parent or bottle the feelings down, and they fester and cause issues for the rest of their life until they figure it out and choose to release those feelings. What does a young one learn when they can't be themselves, can't express their feelings, and are not accepted for who they are? They learn there is something wrong with them, that fundamentally they are a bad person. They learn to be ashamed of who they are. They learn they are unlovable. They learn the only way to fit in and get any approval is to cast aside their real nature and be the perfect model their mother wants them to be. They learn through repetition that who they are is abhorrent. Most young ones don't know they are making these choices. The learning happens at a subconscious level, and it is in their subconscious mind where the learning gets locked in as being the truth, and it sets the rule for the rest of their life until they awaken and see it as a false belief. Lack of safety. A narcissist is unpredictable in their behaviour. From the young one's point of view, they don't know what to expect when they do something wrong, or even if they are doing something wrong. Often they go about their play and then suddenly they're being hauled away and punished for saying the wrong words or doing something they had no idea was wrong. So the world of the young one is not safe because of the mother's unpredictability and rigidity of their thinking. The effects of the lack of love, feeling unlovable and feeling unsafe, causes major changes inside the young one's brain and their psyche, which is their psychological makeup. Neurologically, the very basic needs of the young one to be loved and protected have been damaged. Without getting too technical, I will talk about the amygdala, which is a part of the brain that plays a major role in how we deal with fear, and it is involved with how we regulate anxiety, stress response, and memories tied with emotions. So the young one's brain can become wired to see the world as a dangerous place, that safety can only be achieved if they withdraw and keep out of the way. Because they learn there is something wrong with them and they are not worthy of love, the effect is fear of making friends, because who would like them? They take on the blame of the mother and feel ugly, and that has to be hidden at all costs. And I totally experienced that. It took many years to learn that I actually have value. During the rest of the years of growing up, they may be socially awkward, shy, hide at the back of the classroom, overachieve so that they please the teacher, and many other adaptive behaviours so that they can be as safe as possible. This means that the ordinary course of social development doesn't happen because the anxiety of being found out that they are a nasty person in their mind means that it has to be avoided at all costs. Later in life, as they become an adult, they may withdraw socially, have addictions, and struggle to maintain any relationships they are in. They can have trouble holding down a job, be afraid of authority, and get over upset if they make a mistake at work. So the picture is bleak, is it not? The good news is this is reversible. When I did my healing, I had little to go on because there was not much information out there. But the one thing I kept coming across was that I had to learn to love myself. I Googled how to love yourself and found more articles about the need to do it, but not the how to do it. Perhaps that information was behind a paywall. So I learned how to do it. I researched and found snippets and tied them together, along with asking myself, what do I need? What do I need in this moment? What do I need to hear? What do I need to have portrayed to me to feel worthy? I had this ongoing critical voice in my head that sounded like my mother, criticising everything I did, just like it was when I was growing up. I wanted to silence that voice more than anything. I needed to be loved, to be held, told it was going to be okay, give myself approval. In fact, what I needed was reparenting for the inner child, which were words I came across a few times. Of course, I didn't find out how one actually did that. So I decided to make it up as I went along. And I will say right here that it was so successful. I one day woke up feeling like a whole new person. I felt happy to wake up and find myself alive. I was excited about the upcoming day. I had loving words in my mind, rather than that ongoing inner critic. I felt like I hadn't been abused at all. Are you ready to hear how I did it? First, self-love. As I had learned, I was to be the parent, and the wounded part of me was the inner young being. I began talking with that inner little girl, and all that came up was the need to curl up and cry. Okay, so there was a lot of pain that needed to come out. I wrapped my arms around me, along with a light blanket, and allowed myself to cry. The blanket and my arms around me felt like I was being held. What do children do when they hurt themselves? They come crying to the mother for comfort. So I was being the mother of myself. After the crying was over, I lay there resting, still hugging myself. I was pleased that the little girl inside me was willing to find safety enough to cry in my arms. That was a great start. I then became aware of the little girl inside me as often as possible throughout every day, and I imagined that there was actually a little one with me all the time, as if I was in charge of the little person. So I spoke to her a lot. I showed her the beauty in nature when I went for a walk. I stopped and watched wildlife, like bees on a flower or birds visiting flowers. I did what I would do if I had a young one with me. I told her what I was going to do when I was about to change activities, so she knew what was coming up, so it felt safe for her. I told her what I was doing and why. I literally kept up the awareness that she was with me all the time. I went on teaching her what I was doing, like how to make a coffee, and praised her for doing a great job. Everything that I did, I praised her when it went all right, and laughed with her when I did goofy things. I was also the parent when I needed to set boundaries. Because I had stopped the addictions that I'd used in the past to comfort myself, I had developed a yearning for sugar. So I had to be very firm and either say no or allow a small amount and set a boundary. So there were many times when I said no, all for the love and well-being of the little inner being I was responsible for. I bought some simple art and craft supplies and had hours of fun making creations. Some good, some terrible. But the occupational therapist in me knew that activity was so powerfully healing. So making things was one of my favourite memories of those days of self-parenting. The rule was there was no such thing as a mistake. They were just learning experiences. The little girl inside me learned to trust that there was no fault-finding, no criticism, and the failures were just steps towards creating something beautiful. As I have already mentioned, the day came when I woke up feeling different, with a profound sense of well-being. The inner critic voice in my head had left some time in that process, and I don't remember when that happened actually. I was just so much in the throes of that loving voice speaking to the inner me, and I felt completely new. I reached inward to my inner little girl and found her at peace too. It was that moment I knew it was time to integrate her back into me so we became one again. So I imagined this little girl blending into my heart. I said, I love you, I welcome you into me. I still had the sense of wonder about life and the world around me. I didn't have the nagging anxiety about what other people thought of me anymore. In fact, I felt so much love for myself that it really didn't matter. I was completely buzzing with my new state. Life wasn't perfect after this. I have had my ups and downs, as much as anyone does. However, the way I was able to navigate my life after that was very different. I set boundaries about what I would allow into my life, which meant that I didn't let back in the narcissistic types. I was able to see the narcissists clearly and was no longer in their field of interest. When we love ourselves, we repel narcissists. I was able to do things that I'd shied away from before and volunteered at the local hospital in the emergency department, providing support to patients, helping the nursing staff when they were busy, and just doing any other role that they needed help with. It was a role that meant I put myself out there, and I gained a great deal of warm fuzzies through helping other people. And as we know, I got busy online, reaching out my hand to those who were struggling from the same type of background, and said, I can show you how I did it, like this. I'm offering self-healing coaching now, and if you are interested in having a guide through the process, follow the link in the description box below. I work with people who are really motivated to recover and live a fulfilling life going forwards. So like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're not already, and share it with anyone you know who might benefit from watching it. Until the next video, I am sending you love.